Okay, so I don't know if any of you guys are tired of this pattern, but I think it's kind of perfect to turn potato sacks into a dress, inspired by Marilyn Monroe's potato sack dress, which really just looks like a potato sack was like had holes cut in it and then it was put on, but I want it to actually be a dress. So I think this is the best pattern for that. And then I have this brown cotton as a lining. I got a zipper as close to this color as possible that I thought would go with it. And then I do have some bias binding that I thought I might use for the edges. I don't know if I got enough though. Because the burlap is kind of rough, I thought maybe I might need to do binding on all of the edges just to make sure it's comfortable to wear. So this is where we are at. I think this will be a pretty easy project because I have made 2 dresses, either using or based on this pattern now so far. Basically the last 2 dresses in the videos that I've done lately. But we're going to make these potato sacks into a dress. They're going to be the fashion fabric. I have 8 of these, so I'm pretty sure I have plenty. This is, I think, 3. I'm going to try to center the potato, Idaho potato design as much as I can. So that's where I am. Now I need to figure out laying it out on this pattern for the best placement. Okay, I should probably look through my potato sacks and see which one is like the most vibrant and good looking, but I think what I might have to do to get the potato designs in the center is cut the burlap sack and then sew the plain edge on the other side of this because these are all cut like flat. I didn't do that, that's how I bought them. But then I could have like plain burlap on the sides by piecing plain burlap on that side, and then that Idaho potato can be moved into the center. It's also not quite long enough for this short dress, so I might also have to piece another burlap piece on the bottom to make it a decent length for an actual dress to wear. Okay, so on this burlap sack, I like that there's a little bit more of an edge and it's not too close to the printed design. I might check them one more time to see if there's one better. Okay. So I think this one is going to be the front. I just looked through them some more, and I think I'm going to like cut about this much off and then sew this section over here so that the design can be centered. Alright, so here I am cutting off some of the plain burlap and putting it over on the other side. So I use these nice little sewing clips that I kind of like. At least I don't stab myself when I use those, so that's a plus. But I clipped that piece over to the other side and then I sewed it together so that the words and like design would be centered when I use it as a piece of fabric. Yeah. I cut away the scraggly bits on the edges that were like coming up apart, and then that way it would be nicer on the inside of the dress, and then I used a zigzag stitch along those edges just to try to keep the burlap from fraying, and that's kind of what my edge ended up looking like. There's the whole piece of fabric pieced together, and then I work on cutting out the lining. So there I am cutting out the cotton lining. Then I did all of the markings for the darts. I went ahead and just used Sharpie because no one's gonna see the inside except me and maybe you. So it really didn't matter because the burlap would not, I mean, it's like the outer fabric, so you're not gonna see the cotton lining markings, so it didn't matter to me. Yeah, so there's the markings, and then I start pinning the lining to the burlap so that basically my lining is my pattern piece when I cut out the burlap. And I used a zigzag stitch all around the edges, kind of trying to meld the cotton with the burlap potato sack. And this is what the darts look like, all pinned and ready to be sewn. And that is my very first dart of the project, sewing it down. Nice little dart. And this is what the front of the dress looks like after all of those darts are sewn. Yeah, and then the two back pieces barely fit on this one piece of burlap, and you know, I decided to be thrifty and just squeeze both back pieces on one piece of burlap. So I have extra burlap if I want to make another potato sack project. Because I might want to, you know. I have a couple sacks left. There I am, sewing it again somehow. I don't know. There it is again. My progress, and there I am sewing the first piece of bias binding along one of the arms. So I wanted all of the edges finished with bias binding so that they would be nice and encased and the burlap would not fray off of it everywhere, and I assumed it would make it more comfortable. So I used a sewing machine to initially sew the bias binding in place, and then I sewed that down by hand. There's the center back with the edges all clipped in, and I wanted to try it on at this point just to kind of see what it would look like, see if it looked okay, and that's what it looks like. Oh, and by the way, it was like at this point that my husband pointed out that because of the dart placement, the I of Idaho was cut off. So really it just says, as I wear this dress, it says Idaho potatoes. I mean, I'm not mad at it. It's kind of funny. Could be used as perhaps a conversation starter, you know, why I'm wearing a potato sack dress it says Idaho. Lovely. You know. There I am anyways, putting the bias binding along the top edge neckline after I put in the zipper. Yeah. There I am, finishing the neckline. And remember when I added more length to my burlap sack fabric? I ended up deciding I didn't need to, because it's supposed to be short, and sort of sexy, if you will, in my little Idaho potatoes sack dress. So, yeah. And there I am finishing off the bottom of my potato sack dress. I am just doing the finishing hand sewing for the bias binding on the bottom. And here's the reveal.